You parked in the wrong life, Carter.
The video call pixelated for a second, and when it cleared, I saw something that made my breath catch. There, on my side of our bed, sat a red men's Rolex. Definitely not mine. "Nice new clock, babe," I said, forcing a laugh while my detective instincts screamed warnings. Elise glanced back at the nightstand and her face went pale for just a moment before she recovered. "Oh, that old thing? I found it at a garage sale. Thought you might like it." "Right, because my wife of 22 years suddenly developed an interest in buying me expensive watches from garage sales. The same woman who complained when I spent $50 on work boots." "Tom, you still there?" Elise's voice pulled me back to the screen. She was smiling too wide, the kind of smile she used on difficult clients at her advertising agency. "Yeah, just admiring your... I find." I kept my voice casual, but my mind was racing. That wasn't any garage sale Rolex. The thing looked like it cost more than my monthly salary as a detective in our sleepy New England college town. "Listen, honey, I should get some sleep. Big presentation tomorrow." She was already reaching for the laptop. "Sure thing, love you." "Love you too." The screen went black, and I sat alone in my sterile hotel room, staring at my reflection in the dark window. 22 years of marriage, 2 kids, a mortgage, and now this. My gut told me what my heart didn't want to accept. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through the security app. One of the perks of being a cop. I'd installed cameras around our house after a break-in scare last year. Elise had complained they made her feel like she was being watched. Now I knew why. I rewound to 2 nights ago, when I'd left for this conference. There it was, clear as day. A silver BMW pulling into our driveway at 9:47 p.m. I recognized that car. Carter Haynes, CEO of the advertising firm where Elise worked. The same Carter who always made a point of mentioning his expensive toys whenever we met at company parties. The BMW didn't leave until 6:23 a.m. I canceled my morning sessions and booked the first flight home. But first, I made a call. "Linda, it's Tom. I was thinking of surprising Elise with breakfast tomorrow morning. Want to join me? Bring George too. I know how much she loves when you visit unannounced." My mother-in-law's delighted gasp told me everything I needed to know about how this would play out. Linda Bishop Hartwell lived for drama, especially the kind that let her feel involved in her daughter's life. I picked up Linda and George at 7 a.m. sharp. George, as usual, looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, while Linda practically vibrated with excitement about surprising our dear Elise. "She works so hard," Linda chattered as we pulled into my driveway. "I worry she doesn't eat enough breakfast." "Oh, I think she's been getting plenty of nourishment lately," I muttered. The silver BMW was there again, parked bold as brass right next to Elise's car. Linda's face shifted through confusion, recognition, and then something that looked almost like anticipation. "Isn't that her boss's car?" "Sure is." I grabbed the bag of bagels and cream cheese. "Must be having an early morning meeting." George finally spoke up. "At 7 in the morning? At your house?" "Dedicated employees," I said, walking toward the front door. "Let's go see how dedicated." I used my key, making sure to call out loudly. "Honey, I'm home early, and look who I brought for breakfast." The sounds from the kitchen stopped abruptly. Footsteps scrambled overhead. We walked into the kitchen, and there was Elise, hair messed up, wearing nothing but my old police academy t-shirt and panic. Carter Haynes stood by the coffee maker in his boxers and an undershirt, holding a mug like it might shield him from the 3 pairs of eyes now staring at him. The silence stretched for about 10 seconds before I broke it. "Don't get up on our account, Carter." "Oh, wait, you already did." Linda made a sound like a deflating balloon. George just stood there, mouth open, still holding the bag of bagels. Elise found her voice first. "Tom! You're supposed to be in Boston until tomorrow." Funny thing about conferences, sometimes they end early. I walked over to Carter, who was now desperately looking around for his clothes. "You know what's really funny, though? That red Rolex upstairs. The one my wife said she bought at a garage sale." Carter's face went white. His hand instinctively went to his wrist, where a tan line clearly showed where a watch usually sat. "Now, Tom," Elise started, switching to her crisis management voice, "this isn't what it looks like." "Really? Because it looks like my wife is screwing her boss in our kitchen while wearing my shirt. But hey, maybe I'm just seeing things wrong. 20 years as a detective will do that to you." Linda finally found her voice. "Elise Marie Hartwell. What is the meaning of this?" "It's Elise Bishop, Mom. Has been for 22 years. I looked at Carter, who was edging toward the door. "Going somewhere, Carter?" Don't forget your watch. I headed upstairs, grabbed the Rolex from the nightstand, and came back down. Carter had managed to find his pants but was still shirtless. Here, I tossed the watch at him. It hit him in the chest and clattered to the floor. Wouldn't want you to be late for your next appointment. Carter bent to pick up the watch, and I noticed his hands were shaking. Tom, listen, we should talk about this like adults. Adults? I laughed, but there wasn't any humor in it. Adults don't sleep with their employees' spouses in the family kitchen. Adults don't leave their expensive jewelry lying around like breadcrumbs. I walked to the back door and opened it wide. Your car's in the driveway, Carter. I suggest you use it. He grabbed his shirt and shoes and practically ran for the door. As he passed me, I spoke quietly, just for him. You forgot something else, Carter. What? Your dignity, but I don't think you can pick that up off my kitchen floor. After Carter fled, the real fight began. Linda alternated between horrified gasps and demanding explanations. George sat at the kitchen table, staring at his coffee like it held the secrets of the universe, and Elise went on the offensive. You had no right to humiliate me like that, she hissed once her parents finally left. Bringing my mother here, ambushing me. I had no right? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You're screwing your boss in our house, and I had no right? It's not that simple, Tom. You don't understand the pressure I'm under at work. The expectations. Oh, I understand perfectly. Carter expected you to spread your legs, and you delivered. Very professional. She slapped me. Hard. The sound echoed through the kitchen. I touched my cheek and nodded. Feel better? This marriage has been over for years, Tom. We both know it. We're just going through the motions. Funny, I must have missed the memo. When exactly did you decide our marriage was over? Before or after you started wearing lingerie to work? You're impossible to talk to when you're like this. Like what? Angry that my wife is cheating on me? Yeah, I can see how that would be inconvenient for you. My phone buzzed. Text from Jack, our 20-year-old son. Dad, what's going on? Mom's parents called and said there was some kind of emergency. I showed Elise the text. What do you want to tell the kids? Her face crumpled for a moment, but then the mask went back up. We'll figure something out. No, Elise, you'll figure something out. I'm done figuring things out for you. I grabbed my jacket and keys. I'm going to work. When I get home tonight, I expect you to have decided whether you want to try to fix this marriage or end it, but the affair stops now, today. Or I make Carter's life very uncomfortable, and trust me, I know how to do that legally. She was crying when I left, but I was past caring about her tears. At the station, my partner Ray took one look at me and poured 2 cups of coffee. Rough night? Rough morning. I filled him in on the basics. Ray had been my partner for 8 years and had met Elise plenty of times at department barbecues and Christmas parties. Carter Haynes? That pretty boy with the expensive car? That's the one. Ray whistled low. Man's got balls, I'll give him that. Stupid, but big. Question is, what do I do about it? What do you want to do about it? I thought about that for a long time. What did I want? I wanted to go back to yesterday morning when the biggest problem in my life was whether to attend the boring conference seminar on digital forensics. I wanted my wife to not be a cheating liar. I wanted my kids to not have to choose sides in a divorce. But since none of that was possible, I wanted Carter Haynes to understand that actions have consequences. I want him to hurt the way I'm hurting, I finally said. Ray nodded. Legal hurt or the other kind? Legal. I'm not throwing away my career and my pension for that piece of crap. Good man. So what's the plan? I smiled for the first time in 12 hours. You know how you're always saying I should use my investigative skills for more than just burglary cases? Yeah? I think it's time to investigate Carter Haynes very thoroughly. I bet a guy who's careless enough to leave his watch at his girlfriend's house is careless about other things too. Ray grinned. Now you're talking. It took me 3 days to build a case against Carter Haynes. 3 days of using every legal resource at my disposal, every contact I'd made in 20 years of police work, every database I had access to. Carter, it turned out, was sloppy about more than just his extramarital affairs. His company car, the silver BMW, had 17 unpaid parking tickets dating back 8 months. His gym membership, the exclusive one that cost more than most people's rent, was being paid for by his company as a health and wellness expense. That same company was also covering his monthly massage appointments, his personal trainer, and his supplements. The real goldmine was his expense reports. Carter had been billing personal dinners as client meetings, charging personal gas to company accounts, and claiming mileage for trips that had nothing to do with work. It wasn't enough to land him in jail, but it was definitely enough to get him fired. I compiled everything into a neat folder and made copies. Then I called Jack. Dad, how are you holding up? I'm managing. Listen, I need to ask you something and you can say no if you want. What is it? How good are you with computers these days? Jack laughed. Better than you, old man. Why? I need someone to help me with a little project. It involves your mother's boss. There was a pause. The guy she's been screwing? I winced. You know about that? Dad, I'm 20, not 12. Plus, Kayla told me. Mom confided in her. Of course she did. Kayla, our 18-year-old daughter, had always been Team Elise. She thought I was boring and old-fashioned, while her mother was successful and glamorous. So, Kayla's taking her side? Pretty much. She thinks you drove Mom to cheat by being emotionally unavailable. I could hear the air quotes in his voice. And what do you think? I think Mom's a grown woman who made her own choices. What do you need me to do? I explained my plan. Jack was quiet for a long time. Dad, that's actually pretty brilliant and completely legal. I try. When do we start? Tonight. Meet me at Murphy's bar at 8. We'll go over the details. Murphy's was a cop bar 3 blocks from the station. Dark, quiet, and full of people who minded their own business. Perfect for planning revenge. Jack showed up right on time, looking more serious than I'd seen him since he was 16 and crashed my car. So what exactly are we doing? I slid the folder across the table. We're making sure Carter's employer knows what kind of man they've got running their company. Jack flipped through the papers, whistling softly. This is a lot of evidence. 20 years of police work teaches you to be thorough. How do we get this to the right people without it looking like it came from you? That's where you come in. Carter's company has an anonymous tip line for reporting ethics violations. It's right there on their website. And you want me to submit this anonymously? I want you to make sure it gets to the right people in the right way. Can you do that? Jack grinned, and for a moment he looked exactly like I did at his age. Dad, I can make it look like it came from anywhere. Heck, I can make it look like it came from Carter himself if you want. Just make it anonymous. I don't want this traced back to us. Consider it done. What about Mom? What about her? Are you going to tell her what you're doing? I thought about that. Your mother made her choice. Now she gets to live with the consequences. Jack nodded. For what it's worth, Dad, I think you're handling this better than a lot of guys would. How do you figure? You're not drinking yourself stupid. You're not threatening to end anyone. And you're not begging her to come back. You're just handling it. I'm a cop, Jack. I handle things. Yeah, you do. We finished our beers and went back to my house. Elise's car wasn't in the driveway. Where is she? Jack asked. Staying at your grandparents' house. Says she needs space to think. What she needs is a reality check. She'll get one soon enough. Carter Haynes was fired on a Thursday morning. I know because Harper Williams, the HR director at Elise's company, called me personally. Detective Bishop, this is Harper Williams from Pinnacle Advertising. We've never met, but I work with your wife. What can I do for you, Ms. Williams? I wanted to give you a heads up about something. We received some information about our CEO, Carter Haynes, and after investigating, we've had to terminate his employment immediately. I see. May I ask what kind of information? Financial irregularities, misuse of company funds. The kind of thing that could have gotten us all in serious trouble if it had continued. I made appropriate surprised noises. That's terrible. How is this affecting the company? Well, that's partly why I'm calling. Your wife was close to Mr. Haynes, professionally, I mean. There may be some fallout from his termination that affects her position. What kind of fallout? The board is reviewing all of his decisions, including personnel matters. Elise's recent promotion to creative director came directly from him, without the usual committee review. And now they're questioning that decision? Let's just say her position isn't as secure as it was a week ago. I thanked Harper and hung up, feeling something that might have been satisfaction. Or justice. Hard to tell the difference sometimes. My phone rang again immediately. Elise. Tom, did you hear what happened to Carter? I heard he got fired, something about financial irregularities. This is a disaster. The whole company is in chaos. They're questioning everything he did, every decision he made. Including promoting you? Silence. Elise? How did you know about that? Lucky guess. So, what does this mean for your job? I don't know yet. Tom, I think someone set him up. The timing is too convenient. Convenient how? Right after, You know, after what happened. Are you suggesting I had something to do with Carter getting fired? Did you? I thought carefully about my answer. I didn't make Carter steal from his company, Elise. I didn't make him falsify expense reports or use company money for personal expenses. If he got fired, it's because he did things that got him fired. But you investigated him, didn't you? I'm a detective, Elise. I investigate things. It's what I do. You son of a witch. Watch your language. You're talking to the father of your children. She hung up on me. Ray looked up from his desk when I walked into the station. You look like the cat that ate the canary? Carter Haynes got fired this morning. No crap? What for? Turns out he was stealing from his company. Funny how these things come to light. Hilarious. What's next? Next, we see how Elise likes being married to a man who actually fights back. But I was wrong about what came next. What came next was worse than I'd expected. Jack called me at work that afternoon, and I could hear the anger in his voice before he said a word. Dad, you need to know something. I just had lunch with Kayla. Okay. She says Mom is pregnant. The world stopped moving for a moment. What? Pregnant, about 6 weeks along. I did the math. 6 weeks ago, I'd been working a double homicide case, coming home exhausted every night for 2 weeks straight. It's not mine, I said quietly. Yeah, I figured that out. Kayla thinks it's wonderful. She's talking about how Mom deserves to be happy and how this baby represents a new beginning. Jesus Christ. It gets worse, Dad. Mom told Kayla that Carter wants to marry her, that he's going to leave his wife and they're going to start fresh somewhere else. His wife? Carter's married? Apparently. Has been for 15 years, 2 kids. So Elise wasn't just a cheater. She was a home wrecker. And now she was pregnant with a married man's baby. Dad, you still there? Yeah, I'm here, just processing. What are you going to do? I honestly don't know, son. I honestly don't know. I didn't go home that night. Instead, I sat in my car outside Carter's house, his real house where his real family lived. It was a nice place in the expensive part of town with a perfectly manicured lawn and a swing set in the backyard. Carter's wife was beautiful in a wholesome suburban way. I watched her through the kitchen window, helping 2 kids with homework while dinner cooked on the stove. She had no idea her husband had been fired that morning. No idea he'd gotten another woman pregnant. My phone buzzed. Text from Elise. We need to talk. I drove to her parents' house. Linda answered the door, looking like she'd aged 10 years in the past week. Tom, she's in the living room. Elise was sitting on the couch where I'd proposed to her 23 years ago. She looked tired and pale, but there was something else in her face. Something that looked almost like relief. I heard congratulations are in order, I said. She flinched. Jack told you. 6 weeks along. That's quite a coincidence, considering we haven't had closeness in 2 months. Tom, no, I sat down across from her, far enough away that I couldn't smell her perfume. You don't get to explain this one away. You don't get to make this my fault or tell me I don't understand. You're pregnant with another man's baby, a married man's baby. Carter's getting divorced. We're going to be together. Carter got fired yesterday, Elise, for stealing from the company. Did he mention that when he proposed this new life together? Her face went white. That's not... He said it was a misunderstanding. It's not a misunderstanding, it's embezzlement and fraud, and about a dozen other things that are going to make him unemployable in this industry. You did this. You destroyed him. I didn't make him steal, and I didn't make him screw you. Carter destroyed himself. I just made sure the right people knew about it. She started crying then, the ugly kind of crying that comes when you realize you've made a mistake you can't take back. What am I going to do, Tom? I can't raise a baby alone. I might lose my job too. For a moment, just a moment, I felt sorry for her. This was the woman I'd loved for more than half my adult life, the mother of my children, the person I'd planned to grow old with. But then, I remembered Carter's watch on our nightstand. I remembered the lies and the gaslighting, and the way she'd tried to make this my fault. You should have thought about that before you decided to blow up our marriage. Please, Tom. I know I screwed up, but we can fix this. We can work through it. How exactly do we work through you being pregnant with another man's baby? She didn't have an answer for that. I stood up. I'll have my lawyer draw up divorce papers. You can keep the house until it sells. Then we'll split everything 50-50. I'll pay child support for Jack and Kayla until they're finished with college. What about the baby? What about it? It's not mine. But Tom, no, Elise, I'm done. 22 years, and this is how it ends. Not with us growing apart or falling out of love, but with you getting knocked up by a married embezzler in our kitchen. I walked toward the door, then stopped. One more thing. Carter's wife doesn't know about any of this yet. His kids don't know their father is a cheater and a thief, but they will soon. And when they do, when his whole life falls apart, remember that you helped make that happen. You're not just destroying our family, Elise. You're destroying his too. I left her crying on her mother's couch and drove home to my empty house. 2 weeks later, I was having coffee at Murphy's when Ray slid into the booth across from me with a newspaper. You see the business section today? He spread the paper out on the table. The headline read, Local ad executive arrested for embezzlement. There was Carter's mugshot, looking pale and defeated. The article detailed his arrest for stealing over $200,000 from Pinnacle Advertising over the past 2 years. It also mentioned that he was being investigated for similar crimes at his previous job. Turns out your boy Carter has been doing this for a while, Ray said. The investigation you started opened up a whole can of worms. I read the article twice. Carter had been stealing money to fund his lifestyle. The expensive car, the gym membership, the jewelry, the affairs. He was looking at serious prison time. There's more, Ray said. My buddy in white-collar crime says Carter's been trying to make a deal. Wants to testify against other people in exchange for a lighter sentence. What other people? Anyone who might have helped him. Anyone who might have known about the money and didn't report it. It took me a moment to understand what he was saying. Elise. If she knew about the stolen money, if she benefited from it in any way, she could be charged as an accessory. I thought about the expensive dinners Carter had paid for, the weekend trips, the jewelry he'd probably bought her. If prosecutors could prove she knew the money was stolen. She's pregnant, Ray, and unemployed. Pinnacle fired her last week. I know. Doesn't change the law. My phone rang. Speak of the devil. Tom, please, I need your help. Elise's voice was shaky, desperate. What's wrong now? Carter's been arrested. The FBI came to my parents' house this morning. They want to talk to me. About what? They think I knew about the money. They have pictures of us at restaurants, receipts from trips we took. Tom, I swear I didn't know he was stealing. Did you ask where the money came from? Silence. Elise? No, I assumed he made good money. He was the CEO. You never wondered how a CEO of a small advertising firm could afford to spend $500 on dinner. I didn't think about it. Of course she didn't. Elise had always been good at not thinking about inconvenient details. What do you want from me? I need a lawyer, a good one, and I need character witnesses. People who can testify that I'm not the kind of person who would knowingly participate in a crime. Are you? Am I what? The kind of person who would knowingly participate in a crime? Another long silence. I never meant for any of this to happen, Tom. That's not what I asked. I don't know, she whispered. I don't know what kind of person I am anymore. It was the first honest thing she'd said in months. I'll give you the name of a lawyer, I said finally. A good one, but I can't be a character witness, Elise. I can't stand up in court and vouch for your honesty. Because of the affair. Because of everything. She was crying again when she hung up. Ray was watching me carefully. You okay? I will be. What happens now? I folded the newspaper and stood up. Now I go home and call my kids. They need to know their mother might be going to prison. And after that? I thought about it. After that, I start over. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Carter pleaded guilty to embezzlement and fraud in exchange for a reduced sentence of 5 years in federal prison. His wife divorced him and took the kids to live with her parents in California. Elise's trial was harder to watch. She'd hired a good lawyer with money borrowed from her parents, and he did his best to paint her as an innocent victim of Carter's manipulation. The prosecutor wasn't buying it. The evidence was damning. Credit card receipts showing expensive dinners and hotel rooms. Bank records showing cash deposits Carter had made to Elise's personal account. Text messages between them discussing money and trips. The worst part was when they read some of the text messages aloud in court. Carter, booked us the penthouse suite at the Marriott for next weekend. Elise, can you afford that? Carter, don't worry about money, baby. I've got it covered. Elise, you're so good to me. Tom never spent money like this. Carter, Tom's a loser. You deserve better. Jack was sitting next to me in the courtroom when they read that exchange. I felt him tense up, saw his hands clench into fists. Easy, I whispered. She called you a loser, he whispered back. I've been called worse. But it stung. Even after everything, it stung. The jury deliberated for 2 days. When they came back, the foreman stood up and read the verdict. On the charge of conspiracy to commit embezzlement, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of money laundering, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of fraud, we find the defendant not guilty. Elise collapsed in her chair. Her lawyer put his arm around her shoulders. The judge sentenced her to 18 months in federal prison, followed by 2 years of probation. She would serve her time at a minimum security facility in Connecticut, about an hour's drive from home. As they led her away in handcuffs, she looked back at me one last time. I couldn't read the expression on her face. Regret, anger, resignation. I didn't care anymore. Outside the courthouse, reporters were waiting. I pushed through them without comment, but Jack stopped. My mother made her choices, he told the cameras. Now she's paying for them. That's how justice works. Kayla was there too, crying and screaming at the reporters about how unfair it all was. Linda and George flanked her, looking like they'd aged 20 years in the past 6 months. This is your fault, Linda hissed at me as I walked past. You destroyed our daughter's life. Your daughter destroyed her own life, I replied. I just made sure she didn't get away with it. Her epilogue. The end. 6 months later, I was cleaning out the garage when I found a box of Elise's old things. Photo albums, letters, souvenirs from trips we'd taken when we were young and still believed in forever. At the bottom of the box was a small jewelry case. Inside was the engagement ring I'd given her 23 years ago. She must have taken it off and forgotten about it. I held the ring up to the light, remembering the day I'd bought it. I'd been so nervous, so excited, so sure that I was making the right choice. We both were back then. Jack knocked on the garage door frame. Hey, Dad. What's that? Your mother's engagement ring. What are you going to do with it? I thought about it. I could sell it, but it wasn't worth much. I could throw it away, but that seemed petty. I could save it for Kayla, but she wasn't speaking to me these days. I don't know, I said finally. She had the baby last week. I looked up. How do you know? Kayla told me. A girl. They're calling her Hope. Hope. Of course they were. Carter's not on the birth certificate, Jack continued. His lawyer advised against it because of the criminal case. So Elise is raising the baby alone? In federal prison? Yeah, I guess so. Kayla says she's going to help when Mom gets out. I put the ring back in the box and closed it. Your sister can make her own choices about that. What about you? What about me? Are you going to help? When she gets out? I looked at my son, my grown son who was asking me to be a better man than I felt like being. The baby didn't do anything wrong, I said finally. No, she didn't. But I'm not getting back together with your mother, Jack. That part of my life is over. I know, Dad. I'm not asking you to take her back. I'm just asking, don't let the baby suffer for what her parents did. I nodded. I'll think about it. That night, I sat on my back porch with a beer and thought about justice. I'd gotten what I wanted. Carter was in prison, Elise was paying for her crimes, and everyone knew the truth about what had happened. But I didn't feel victorious. I felt empty. My phone rang. Ray. How you doing, partner? I'm okay. Liar. What are you doing? Sitting on my porch, drinking beer, feeling sorry for myself. Want some company? Sure. Ray showed up 20 minutes later with a six-pack and a deck of cards. We sat on the porch playing poker and not talking about anything important until the sun went down. You know what your problem is? Ray said as he dealt another hand. I'm sure you're going to tell me. You won. Carter's in prison, Elise is in prison, and you're free to start over. But you're sitting here acting like you lost. Maybe I did lose. Maybe we all lost. Bees, you lost a cheating wife and gained your self-respect. That's a fair trade in my book. I looked at my cards. 2 pairs, jacks and eights. Not a great hand, but not terrible either. You know what I keep thinking about? I said. What? That watch. The red Rolex that started all this. If Carter hadn't left it on my nightstand, I might never have found out about the affair. You would have found out eventually. Guys like Carter always get sloppy. Maybe. Or maybe I would have spent the next 20 years married to a woman who was screwing around behind my back. Would that have been better? I thought about it. No? I guess it wouldn't have been. Ray won the hand with a straight. As he collected the chips, he looked at me seriously. Tom, you did the right thing. Maybe it wasn't pretty, and maybe it hurt people who didn't deserve to get hurt. But you did the right thing. Don't let anyone tell you different. I raised my beer. To doing the right thing. To doing the right thing, Ray echoed. We finished the beer and played cards until midnight. When Ray left, I went inside and looked at the house that was now just mine. It was quiet. Too quiet. But it was honest. No more lies, no more secrets, no more red Rolexes on nightstands. I thought about the baby, Hope, and wondered what kind of life she would have. I thought about Kayla, who was angry at me but would probably come around eventually. I thought about Jack, who was proud of his old man for fighting back. Most of all, I thought about Elise, sitting in a prison cell, probably wondering how her life had gone so wrong so fast. I could have told her. It went wrong the moment she decided that 22 years of marriage was worth less than a few months of excitement with a man who turned out to be a criminal. But she would figure that out on her own, eventually. I turned off the lights and went to bed. Tomorrow, I would start the rest of my life. The life where I was Tom Bishop, not Tom Bishop whose wife cheated on him. The life where I was the hero of my own story instead of the victim of someone else's. It was going to be a good life.